This is our last day in session before Republicans close up shop and send everyone home for a couple of weeks. The majority could be using this time to do something, provide actual solutions to the health care cliff the country is about to go off, address the affordable cost of all manner of goods and utilities that have been set in motion by their wrong-headed policies. But no, instead of doing anything to help Americans make ends meet, we are here on the floor giving more gifts to big oil, multi-billion-dollar foreign mining corporations and special interests like the NRA. So I guess Merry Christmas to all of them and a big lump of coal for everyone else. To no one's surprise, Republicans have been working all year on handouts to big oil that were written for and by the oil and gas industry. The first bill up on our Christmas list is for polluters. It has been at the top of their wish list for as long as I've been in this Congress. It is the SPEED Act, which is being sold to us as permitting reform, and a spoiler alert, it is not permitting reform. The bill takes a sledgehammer to the National Environmental Policy Act, one of our foundational environmental laws. NEPA was enacted in 1970 on a bipartisan basis to require federal agencies to do something that seems very basic, to understand the consequences of their actions and to listen to the affected American communities before approving major proposed projects. It's often described as telling agencies that they need to look before they leap. Now, I'm not opposed to reforms to make NEPA and other laws work better, make them more efficient, especially for the build-out of the stuff we need, clean energy and essential infrastructure. But we can do that while maintaining appropriate environmental protections, respecting tribal consultation, and protecting community input. The SPEED Act does great damage to all of those things. Instead, it abandons transparency and accountability while ignoring the single biggest permitting problem facing the energy sector right now: the Trump administration's all-out war against wind and solar, which includes a total refusal to permit these projects. Now, from the beginning, Democrats across Capitol Hill have expressed a willingness to negotiate on permitting reform, including changes to NEPA. But the first thing we needed to see was an end to the crazy, arbitrary war on clean energy that is needlessly driving up energy costs for millions of Americans. And I hope you'll just take a look at this spaghetti mess behind me, because this is what Republicans have done to the permitting process for wind and solar projects. On July 15th, Secretary of Interior Doug Burgum signed a memo listing 69 individual actions that require his personal sign-off. Of course, this requirement only applies to wind and solar projects, not to fossil fuels. But I'll name just a few of the things that now require Secretary Burgum to pause his global tour promoting fossil fuels all over the world and give personal sign-off. If you need a temporary use permit for anything, if you need a National Trails System impact evaluation, if you need visual impact analysis, the Secretary of Interior himself has to take a look at what you're proposing and sign off 69 times if you want to actually get a permit for a wind and solar project. This is madness. And since the memo's enactment, there has been only one single solar project all year long that has been approved. It was just yesterday, and it happened only after heavy lobbying from the Republican governor of Nevada, who told the Interior Department that it wasn't just that project. There are actually 33 gigawatts of solar and storage projects that are in limbo right now because of this logjam that they have created. And they're going to be key to supplying affordable, reliable energy to meet increased load growth. So to be clear, this is just one project that has made it through the gauntlet, and it was fully approved, by the way, under the Biden administration, but then the Trump folks came along and put the brakes on that project. That's where we are. That is the context for this conversation where my friends across the aisle claim to care so much about an efficient permitting process. I think most Republicans would agree that, at least privately, I think they would agree, that wind and solar are essential parts of the energy mix, despite the president's war against them. And that is why at markup, Chair Westerman did incorporate a few Democratic ideas that at least attempted to provide some permitting certainty for projects of all kinds. Now, those amendments didn't come anywhere close to actually providing certainty for wind and solar projects in the face of the administration's crazy war on clean energy. The amendment would not get clean energy permits moving again, and it did nothing to help projects that the administration had already pulled the plug on. But even that largely cosmetic step was too much for the Freedom Caucus, and so they struck again. They demanded that the Rules Committee attach language to further stall clean energy permitting and to make it even easier for the Trump administration to continue blocking wind and solar projects in order to bring the SPEED Act to the floor today. That was the condition for our being here debating this bill on the floor right now. So a bad bill got worse. So bad that the American Clean Power Association pulled its support, joining the Solar Energy Industries Association in opposing the bill. And for months, we heard from Chair Westerman, Exhibit A for why Democrats should feel comfortable supporting this bill. The American Clean Power Association supports it. Well, that support has now curdled into opposition. But you know who still supports it? The American Petroleum Institute and the Koch-backed Americans for Prosperity, who put out a statement immediately after the Freedom Caucus made the bill worse to announce their great affection and support for this bill. The bill has lost any claim for advancing tech-neutral energy policy if it ever had one. And trust me when I say that even if the House passes this bill today, it is going nowhere in the Senate. What a missed opportunity to tackle a serious issue that Democrats were very interested in working in good faith to find some solutions on. I strongly oppose this bill and reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman